Hey, welcome back to Garden on the Moors. It's a lovely day in May and it's now time for our next garden tour. So let's go take a look around. Well, I thought we'd start in the patio because this is where we usually come into the garden. So I've got some petunias there that I bought the other day for some pots. But we have our fig trees looking lovely. Also, maybe you notice or not, but we've had the walls cleaned, so they're looking lovely now. But our two fig trees are coming on nicely, and I've also planted up this pot with some bedding plants, so hopefully that'll look nice in a few weeks' time. Then we have all sorts of different pots really. So I've got an old pot there which I'll probably want to redo the compost. It's a bit old, that compost now, so I think that's why that pelargonium is looking a bit tired. But these other things are doing well. The lime and the lemon are outside again, so that's really nice. And I'm hoping that these are set fruit. I don't know. Hopefully. That one there's been like that for a while, so hopefully that is its set. But I also noticed yesterday that our new blueberries have some flowers. So that's really awesome. Hopefully we'll get some fruit before long. That'd be really nice. Then up to the shrubs. The magnolia didn't do very well. I think it wasn't happy with all that rain that we had, so its flowers just didn't do anything really. But it's come into leaf, so hopefully, as always, next year. That's a good thing about perennial things. That camellia tree behind is still just about flowering. It's been going on for months, so that's done really, really well. Then we have our bulb lasagnas, the spring bulbs. They're coming to their end now. I'm just going to let these last couple of tulips lose their petals, and then what I'll do is cut the stems back down to the leaves, so then all the energy from these leaves will go into the bulb for next year's flower. They're never as good the second year, and it's like diminishing returns for the following years. But what I'll do is put these into probably the flower bed at the top to live out the rest of their life, and then just get new bulbs for next year. They're really, you should just treat them like annuals. They're not that perennial, sadly. Then we have our little mini border just here. I made some space because all of these leaves were covering up a lobelia, which you can just see there. So I'm hoping that now it's got a bit more light and air, it can start thriving. One addition, or well, one change I suppose, is that I've planted this astilbe down here. It used to be in the top bed, but I've moved it down here because I just wasn't happy. I think I'm having a bit of a rethink about that flower bed up there, but I'll talk about more of that later. But the astilbe is down here and very, very happy, so that's really, really great to see. Now onto the greenhouse. I did quite a lot of work in the greenhouse over the weekend, so it's all change. But let's just walk through what we've done. So first up in this little propagator are some cuttings that I took over the weekend. So we've got different salvias there, lobelias, and a monarda, like a bergamot flower. So they're looking pretty good still, which is very promising. So hopefully they'll be just fine. Next up, I've moved all of my tomatoes and peppers into the greenhouse. They were getting a bit too big for the kitchen windowsill now. They were like leaning up against the wall, up against the window, and yeah, I just thought I might as well just bring them out into here now because, like, you know, they've put on some really, really good growth in the past few days. It's been nice and sunny lately, which has been brilliant. Got my little habanero peppers down there. That pot is, I just seeded that yesterday. That's some coriander. I find coriander bolts really quickly, so I'm hoping that, well, I'll just do a succession, but if anybody's got any tips on how to get coriander to last, you know, a longer time, then let me know, because mine just always runs to seed, you know, the second there's any warmth. A little new addition over the weekend. There's a bank holiday weekend, so we nipped to the shop and saw that, and Brandon thought it would be a cute little addition for the garden, so I'm not complaining. I've repotted on the pelargonium terracotta pots. These will go on the that sort of bench in the patio area. But yeah, so they've got nice fresh compost now, so hopefully they'll be really happy with that. Got some Swedes that I sowed also at the weekend. I said very busy weekend, but sowed some Swedes. Sowed the first lot of beetroot. These are Chioggia beetroot, those sort of candy cane type ones. Then I've got some courgettes, pumpkins, and squash. Leeks there, more leeks there. Some basil, some pelargonium cuttings, all sorts of different things. More cuttings and basically just more cuttings, and some broccolis there that should probably go out soon, really. But all change. So anything that was getting a bit big has now gone out into the garden to sort of flourish out there. The things I need to put out next are really these lupins. They are ready to go. I'll put them at the front of the house because they do really well there, and the ones that were there have died now. I think lupins are only really like they're a short-lived perennial, aren't they? So they only live for a couple of years before they go on. These are some penstemon cuttings I took, and then this is an iris which is for a family friend. So I'm just growing that on, so it'll be nice and big for them to have whenever I go up to visit them next. And the other thing that needs to go out are these broccolis as well. They're ready to go. That's really interesting what's happened there. I think a slug or someone has taken a bite out of the main stem, and now it's got loads of new shoots coming out of the bottom there. So I don't know what that means for when it comes to you know, making the flower heads, but we'll see. But yeah, really pleased with these tomatoes. Some of them are doing brilliantly. So like these ones here, these Golden Sunrise are absolutely fantastic. So are these are the Black Beauty? Yeah, Black Beauty. So they're actually all from saved seed. The fresh seeds are these Genovese, which I think are like an accordion tomato. Sun Gold, which is an all-time favourite. They've picked up in the past week or two. Some haven't done that well actually. So what is this one? Alice's Dream. That was a new one for me. They don't look particularly happy. That I usually think of that as being like too much water, but they've had no more water than anyone else, so I'm not sure why they've got a bit of a strop. And also the beef heart tomatoes that we grow, I think the seeds are just getting a bit too old now, so if I do get any fruit from them, I'll be sure to save those seeds and then grow them on next year, because I think the seeds, they're a few years old and they're just getting a bit tired and nothing really came up, whereas obviously like the rest of them have done brilliantly. So, and no other difference. So the compost is the same, the treatments have been the same, you know, put them on the seed on the heat mat, this type of thing. No difference there. So I think it's just the seeds, so we're a bit tired. But yeah, all in all, really great. Okay, we're getting some flowers on the strawberries, which is always great to see, because that means that hopefully in a few weeks' time we'll have some fruit. Woohoo! I think I mentioned, yeah, that we had the walls treated the other day. And it's quite strong chemicals, so some things took a bit of a hit, and I think where we had this one done, I think some may have trickled down onto these and hit them back a little bit, but I washed them off and they look like they've recovered, and like I said, they've got flowers now, so hopefully they'll pick up and we won't notice much of a difference. There's Alex just inspecting with us. Rhubarb has done fantastic. I've been having that for breakfast actually, just cutting off a stem, or pulling off a stem here and there, and cooking that with a bit of cinnamon. Absolutely delish with some granola. This little Cage apple tree is now coming out, which is brilliant. We've got some flowers there. I'll show you one of our other apple trees because it's way ahead of this one. This one must be a bit later, but I'm glad this one's finally putting out some flowers. Hopefully with all the apples we've got now all flowering, they'll set fruit. Then we have our little wildflower area. I've made some changes this year in that I have planted a few things, just to help increase the diversity a little bit, make it a bit more interesting. So that's a hemp agrimony that was in the driveway, so I was like, well, better save it from getting run over. That's another hemp agrimony, that was another weed, I think it was in the veg patch, so I've moved it into here. And then I've got a meadow sweet there, and down here, just because I bought them from a shop, but they weren't very happy where they were before. Again, they're up in that top flower bed, which is, I'm doing a bit of a change of plan with that. But it's in here now, well, they're in here now I should say, and looking very happy. But there's all sorts of different flowers. So we've got all the daisies and buttercups, there's some clovers coming out there, plantain, some speedwells. So the speedwells, these little blue ones here, Jamander speedwell. We do get heath speedwell as well. I can't see any at the minute. Red clover just coming into flower up there. Great. But yeah, really great diversity. What I'm going to do is try and collect some seeds from some things to help them along as well. So we have round here, where has it gone? This little plant, this one, is Meadow, which is a beautiful yellow pea. I'm going to try and collect some seed from that and grow it on, and then spread that out. I tried moving the seed pods around, but I wonder if the grass is just too thick, so I'm going to just grow them on in seed pots, or do a mix, see what works best for them. And then just behind we have the raspberries, which they too are also now coming out with their leaves and buds, which is brilliant. This one's looking very nice. Leaves are out, it's got some flower buds there coming along. What I do every year at the end of winter is give them a nice mulch, so some old compost, but also some of the chicken manure as well. Some of the old chicken manure I chucked down for them. Oh, that one's got some nice little buds coming out just there. That one was in a bit of a random place. I don't know how it got there. I think we got some suckering going on, but it was halfway up the way, so I've just moved it into here. There's a bit of a gap that had formed, so I was like, oh, ideal. But yeah, so raspberries doing very nice. Sadly, this little pear tree is not doing very well. Oh yeah, so it's absolutely riddled with canker. That was higher up, the canker, and I cut it down to what I thought was healthy wood, but the inside, I don't know if you can see that, the inside was all black anyways, so I think it's RIP for this little fella, and we'll just have to buy a new pear tree and put it somewhere different. I don't think it's very happy here. I wonder if it's getting too shaded out by the willow tree that's just here. It's a lovely willow tree, but I think it might be just causing too much shade and humidity. Don't know, that's all I can think. But for the most part, pretty good. What's he doing? Here is the top flower border. I mentioned I've had a few changes. Some things you can see are doing absolutely incredibly well, like these irises here. Actually, this iris, you can just see its flower there, the next flower coming on. That flowered for the first time this year. I've had that for 3 years, 4 years, something like that. Finally flowering, which is really great. This is a new iris that I've got, which has been teasing me. It's put up a flower spike, but it hasn't opened its flower yet, so I'm still waiting on that one. But they're doing very well. The Echinops does very well. Agapanthus does very well. This parsley, absolutely loving life. And what else does really well? The roses at the back there, but salvias. I planted out a load of salvias this weekend actually. There's one just there. They do very well. Things that don't do well are the, I suppose, the more moisture loving things, like, what did we just see? A stilby, and what else is very happy up here? Oh, I can't think now. But what I'm getting at is I think this area is just too good at, too well draining basically. So what I'm moving more towards is more Mediterranean type plants, things like these bearded iris, the herbs. So I put some of the put some rosemary cuttings in a little while ago that have done quite nicely. Planted those end of last year. but you know, I'm focusing on the salvias and the herby things because they seem to do really, really well. The dahlias, every year that I've had the dahlias here, I've had a mix. So I've taken out my favourites and left in the ones that, you know, I can give or take. I don't really mind. I like them, but I don't want to, you know, take up the whole greenhouse with every different type of dahlia. Anyways, and they always survive. And what usually happens is that the ones that I've left in the ground do far better than the ones that I've taken in. So I was like, all right, well, I'll leave them in this year, leave them all in, because obviously I want my favourite ones to do better. Anyway, lo and behold, they've all died. So, you know, I think it was just far too wet this year, and it's just killed them off. Even with our really nicely free draining soil, it just wasn't good enough. So they've died. But luckily I did have a few in store anyways. I'm just focusing in on a bee. Oh, sorry, I scared him off. Bee that was feeding on their Solomon seal. Absolutely gorgeous. I just also noticed there's some lupin flower buds, so that's really great. Oh, that was the other thing, daffodils. The daffodils don't seem to come back up here. Again, I think it's just too dry for them. Obviously we've got the odd one here and there, but I think they just need a bit more moisture. So I'm going to think of a new place to focus my daffodil efforts. And then up here I'll put the old tulips, because they do like free draining soil, and hopefully they'll do quite well. What else have we got up here then? Oh, there's a few new additions. So this is an elder, only a shrubby one, not a great tree one, and a tree mallow. Again, it's not actually a tree, it's more like a shrub. But what it is that I needed something in there, and you'll see the sticks as well, to try and stop little menaces from doing a bit too much scratching and digging off all my nice mulch and compost I lay down. So that's the plan for those, is to give a bit of protection to the soil and the compost and the small plants around them. But I am actually really pleased with how this is coming along, and that's the point, is that you're always learning, and it's not a mistake if you learn from it, is it? It's a lesson. So yeah. A couple of things I do need to move. Oh, I just saw that. Look at that. Now this is an absolute beautiful iris. It's a really nice baby blue. It's absolutely beautiful. But the only trouble with him is that he's shading out this little guy at the back, which has lovely, really dark, deep dark purple flowers, almost black. But I think it's just causing, it's so big now. It's only been in there 2 years. It's shading this fella out, so I'm going to move it probably to this space, get rid of that or put it somewhere else. This what's it called again? Hardygyranium. Put it somewhere else, maybe there, I don't know, and put that dark iris out here, and that will look quite nicely. They're all contrasting then, so I'll have the really dark one there, the yellow, the pale blue, this new one, which I'm not going to tell yet, so it's flowering, so it'll be a nice surprise, hopefully. But it'll be a contrast of colours. There's a peony flower. There he is. Peony doing really nicely. That's actually, I didn't really introduce her. This is one of our new chickens. We got some new hens the other day. So this one is Ginger. She's a blacktail. Settled in really well. She's very inquisitive, very curious. Who else is new? So Buffy's been here a little while, so is Colossus, but this one at the back there, she's called Bella. She's new. There are ones you've seen before, but... And then we've got Scotch the Second over there. Sadly, Scotch the First, one of our oldest birds, died in winter. We had a really wet, cold snap, and she was a bit old, and she sadly passed away in the night. So we've got a new one, Scotch the Second. Anyways, beautiful Solomon seal. One of my favourite plants that we have in our garden. This was already here. I didn't plant this. That was already there and well established. So absolutely brilliant. I have spread it out a bit more into the flower bed so that we get a bit more of a nice feel with it. Right, onto the veg patch. So we've got some peas, but I think they're getting a bit of slug damage. can see that leaf has been eaten a little bit there, so that's a shame. But hopefully they'll pull through. There's quite a few that are still there and surviving. Then we have white onions, red onions. I sowed some carrots in here in this line because I'm hoping that the onion smell will deter any pests, and that's the plan. Hopefully it works. Then we have garlic, doing really nicely. The old leaves are a bit yellow, but the new ones are nice and green, so that's the main thing. They're doing quite fine. Then we have some potatoes that are up. There'll be more info on these potatoes in a later video. But they're through, leaf burst through, which is really nice. Quite weedy, granted. But the potatoes will soon outcompete them, and I'll just keep on top of them. And then we have loads more garlic and onions down here. These are done really well. I think I said in the last video that I've moved where I put the garlics so that they are in the sunniest position, so they now get full sun all winter, which they're really happy with. I mean, some of them are absolutely enormous. That's this line here. They're a new variety for me, but they're absolutely enormous. They're brilliant, huge plants. So really happy with them. And then we have all of our usual ones, which are looking as good as ever. I think actually better than normal, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, really happy with that change of position. Oh, here we have a pear tree. That's a lot happier. Again, I wonder if it's a bit damp for them, but it seems okay. I mean, it's got a little bit of blistering, so I don't know what that is, but I'll have to do a bit more research. Hopefully that isn't more canker or anything else too bad, but I'll have to do some reading up on that. But yeah, there's our veg patch in May. Just onto fruit trees, we have hopefully the start of some plums. I really, every year I say this, I hope they set fruit. They haven't, and so far, but we live in hope. But these are like the biggest that we've ever had, which isn't saying a lot, granted, but it's hopeful. I'm hopeful. It's promising, and I'm hopeful. So we shall see. Watch this space. Hopefully plums this year. And now the last thing to show you are these two apple trees. This one on the right has been absolutely spectacular. It's had so much blossom on it. Still got loads of blossom going. And some new flower buds coming. So I'm hoping, because here's some new buds coming. Our other apple trees weren't open yet, the flowers, so ours wouldn't have pollinated, but a lot of our neighbours have apple trees, so I'm hoping that they will have done the job. And then we have this one here, not as vigorous, but listen, I'm happy with that. It's doing pretty well, so yeah, hopefully we'll get some nice apples as well. So the other thing is that we had a few baby birds in the garden, or nesting birds. So we've got a blue tit who's in this bird box. We've had a robin at the front, I think, a robin nest at the front. We've got a blackbird who's in their usual spot up in this big camellia tree shrubbiness. We've had some sparrows, excuse the washing, we've had some sparrows up in the top shed, I think, and we've also had a little baby dunnock running around underneath the bird feeder, so productive all round. There we are. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers!